If you stood face to face with a creature 3 times taller than your house, would you call it a monster or a miracle? Fossils, skeletons, ruins, they have always awakened awe and fear. Before science, humans found enormous bones or strange skeleton parts and asked, what monster could this belong to? Often they guessed giants, dragons, titans. Later, paleontology revealed creatures far stranger, and sometimes far larger than any myth. Today, the fossil record is more complete than ever. Giraffatitan, a sauropod from Tanzania, could reach lengths of over 20 meters, making it one of the tallest land animals ever discovered. Purosaurus, a giant Miocene caiman from South America, grew to over 10 meters and weighed multiple tons, an apex predator so massive it reshaped the river ecosystems it lived in. And then there's Giraffatitan, an ancient sea scorpion whose claw fossils suggest a body over 2.5 meters, larger than most humans stand tall. These are not myths, these are giant truths. Imagine looking up in the dense forests of Tanzania more than 150 million years ago and seeing something towering over the trees, its neck stretched high, its feet the size of car tires, its head reaching for the canopy. Such a sight could have birthed legends, whispers of skyscraping beasts. Meet Giraffatitan bronchi, one of the largest sauropod dinosaurs ever discovered. It lived in what is now Tanzania during the late Jurassic, roughly between 150 and 145 million years ago, in the Titanoboa Formation. Scientists have found partial skeletons of both subadults and nearly complete individuals. Size estimates vary. One of the more complete specimens, HMNSII, measured about 22 meters, approximately 73 feet, long and up to 12 to 13 meters, approximately 40 to 43 feet, tall when raised. Weight estimates have ranged widely, from about 25 to 40 tons depending on methods used. Its front limbs were longer than its hind limbs, giving it an upward tilt, neck and chest lifted. That, combined with a long neck and relatively short tail, gave Giraffatitan a towering, almost giraffe-like posture. Indeed, its name means Titanic giraffe. So, how does myth connect? Throughout history, people have found huge bending bones or vertebrae in the ground, sometimes in rocks, sometimes at riverbeds. Without understanding dinosaur anatomy, such discoveries could be interpreted as remains of dragons, sky beasts, tree giants, or beasts that stretch to the clouds. Ancient artists or storytellers might amplify height, weight, terror. When someone sees a massive fossil, hears tales of something enormous once stomping across valleys, myth springs to life. Giraffatitan's discovery history is dramatic too. The fossils were uncovered in expeditions beginning in 1909 to 1912 in Titanoboa, Tanzania, by German paleontologists. Different skeletons, ribs, vertebrae, limb bones compiled over years gave shape to reconstructions later displayed in museums, especially the Berlin Natural History Museum skeleton. These visual images help people imagine what a living giant might have looked like. While we don't have direct legends from people who lived alongside Giraffatitan, it died out long before humans existed. Later dinosaur fossil discoveries likely influenced dragon myths, or stories of sky beasts and giants. Seeing large bones, fossils sticking out of rock, massive footprints, they all hint at something real beneath legendary exaggeration. Giraffatitan shows us that sometimes myth is memory, or at least shadow, of bones and beasts that once shook the earth. Before we dive deeper, imagine this. What if some of the monsters we've only seen in fantasy actually once roamed our world? If that idea grips you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the truths behind these legends are bigger, stranger, and more real than you think. Now, meet a beast you've probably seen on screen, but it was no fiction. To fans of fantasy and myth, dire wolf might sound like a creature conjured for dramatic effect. Oversized, savage, and fiercely loyal to ancient bloodlines. But the dire wolf, Inocean wasn't just the stuff of fiction, it was real. And it was one of the most formidable predators of the Ice Age. Roaming North and South America during the Pleistocene epoch, the dire wolf lived between 125,000 and 9,500 years ago, long enough to potentially overlap with early humans. Unlike modern gray wolves, dire wolves were more robust and muscular, They averaged around 1.5 meters, approximately 5 feet, in length and stood about 70 to 80 centimeters, approximately 2.2 feet, at the shoulder, but weighed up to 68 kilograms, approximately 150 pounds, significantly bulkier than today's wolves. Fossils, especially from the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles, suggest they hunted large herbivores, including horses, bison, and even young mammoths. With powerful jaws and bone-crushing teeth, dire wolves didn't just chase prey, they crushed it. Their bite force is believed to have exceeded that of modern wolves, making them apex predators in their icy domain. So, how did this real creature become mythologized? First, the sheer size and predatory power of the dire wolf gave it legendary status. It likely inspired early hunter-gatherer fears and stories of supernatural wolves lurking beyond firelight. Ancient cultures often spun tales of oversized canines, some helpful, some monstrous. In Norse mythology, the wolf Fenrir is said to be large enough to swallow the sun. In modern times, dire wolves regained mythical stature thanks to fantasy literature and shows like Game of Thrones. But the truth was always more chilling. These weren't magical creatures, they were evolutionary masterpieces, adapted for strength, survival, and dominance. Unfortunately, dire wolves couldn't outlast environmental shifts and competition. They vanished during the Quaternary extinction event, likely due to a combination of climate change and the disappearance of their large prey. Yet, their bones remain, tangible proof that sometimes nature really does produce monsters. Imagine stumbling across huge bones, huge claws, massive leg bones, so large you wonder if giants once slipped through the forests. Across South America, indigenous stories spoke of monsters that ate trees, tore bark, shook the earth with their bulk. What if these legends weren't just made up? Meet Megatherium americanum, often simply called Megatherium, one of the largest ground sloths ever to walk the earth. Spanning from the early Pliocene to the late Pleistocene, millions of years ago until about 12,000 years ago, Megatherium roamed much of South America, especially the Pampas, Patagonia, and parts of Bolivia. This was no modest sloth. A full-grown Megatherium could reach around 6 meters, approximately 20 feet, in body length from snout to tail. Thanks to muscle and massive bone structure, it weighed several tons. Some estimates place it at around 4,000 kilograms or more. Its limbs were powerful, with huge curved claws. Though mostly herbivorous, it wasn't defenseless. Those claws, its massive size, likely acted as deterrents against predators. A particularly remarkable behavior. Megatherium was likely able to stand up on its hind legs, using its strong tail as a brace, to reach high branches and foliage that were out of reach. Think of a creature like a giant tree browser, slow but capable of feats of strength. Its lips, possibly prehensile like those of black rhinos, let it grab leaves, twigs, and shoots. Now, consider what it was like for early humans encountering Megatherium bones. Huge bones protruding from earth, strange footprints, massive claws. Without modern science, these remains might be interpreted as giants or forest demons. In some fossil sites in the Pampas, evidence shows humans butchered or scavenged Megatherium carcasses. That means people saw them, or at least their remains, and created stories around them. Megatherium died out around 12,000 years ago, during the mass extinction event at the end of the Pleistocene, roughly coinciding with the first arrival of humans in many parts of its range. Whether due to climate change, hunting pressure, or both, its disappearance marked the end of a creature that was once so grand, so powerful, that myth seemed insufficient to describe it. So, the legend of monstrous tree giants, earth tremblers wandering forests, may be less myth than memory. Megatherium proves giants did walk the earth, slowly, quietly, and in a way that left both bones and stories behind.